Welcome to the ultimate clash of titans. Brace yourselves for impact.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 8 and 88 podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne, and sitting across the table from me, buried in a mountain of salary cap sheets, all 22 film breakdowns, and whiteboard diagrams, is the one and only Hank. We have got an absolute titan of an episode for you today. The calendar has flipped to August 2026, which means NBA front offices are wrapping up their summer masterclasses and NFL training camps are in full swing. We're diving into the deep end of the tactical pool today. First, we're going to dissect the Los Angeles Lakers and their radically redesigned high-stakes 2026-27 tactical blueprint. After that, we pivot to the NFC East for a granular, microscopically detailed breakdown of the massive Week 18 collision looming on the schedule between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders.
It is great to be here, Dwayne. Grab your highlighters, your notebooks, and your coaching manuals, folks, because we are not doing surface-level hot takes today. We are talking geometric floor spacing, collective bargaining agreement cap mechanics, match quarters, coverage rules, and structural roster vulnerabilities. We are breaking down the architecture of how you build and how you dismantle a championship contender in 2026.
Let's start in the West, Hank, because the landscape in LA has absolutely fundamentally shifted. We all know the LeBron James era is officially over. He departed via free agency to join the Philadelphia 76ers. In the aftermath, the Lakers front office detonated a tectonic blockbuster trade, shipping DeAndre Ayton out of town and acquiring Walker Kessler. This isn't just a roster overhaul, Hank. This is an entirely new basketball religion. The franchise's operational timeline, asset management strategy, and on-court tactical philosophy have been irrevocably altered.
That is exactly right, Dwayne. The Lakers have completely abandoned the dual-star, versatile, forward-centric model that defined their championship pursuits in the late 2010s and early 2020s. Operating under immense pressure from a demanding fan base and ownership group, Rob Pelinka and the front office have committed 100% to a heliocentric offensive paradigm. The 2026-27 NBA season represents the very first fully realized iteration of this singular vision. But navigating this unforgiving new collective bargaining agreement to curate a roster tailored specifically to Luka's biomechanical rhythms and spatial requirements has required absolute ruthlessness.
And that ruthlessness was on full display with their center mandate. Let's talk about the most heavily scrutinized transaction of the summer, the sign-and-trade agreement with the Utah Jazz for restricted free agent Walker Kessler. They handed Kessler a massive 4-year, $130 million contract. But the money isn't what makes my jaw drop, Hank. It's the draft capital. To incentivize a rebuilding Utah franchise to facilitate the trade and stop them from simply matching the offer sheet, the Lakers relinquished a devastating package. Unprotected first-round picks in 2031 and 2033, alongside first-round pick swaps in 2028 and 2030. They mortgaged the next decade.
They did, but Dwayne, you have to understand that this transaction was not born out of luxury. It was birthed from absolute structural desperation. The moment they traded AD for Luka, a massive gaping void opened up at the center position. Look at last offseason. They tried to plug that gap economically by bringing in former #1 overall pick DeAndre Ayton, hoping that proximity to elite playmaking would rehabilitate his career.
The Ayton experiment yielded disastrously inconsistent results. Playing center next to Luka is an unglamorous job with rigid requirements. Set bone-crushing screens at the top of the arc, dive violently to the rim as a lob threat, and anchor the paint defensively with unwavering discipline.
Precisely. And Ayton routinely struggled with those baseline requirements. His defensive effort waxed and waned heavily, depending on how involved he was offensively, and he displayed a palpable reluctance to operate strictly as a screen and roll partner. He wants a more expansive offensive role, famously stating in the past that he is not Clint Capella, completely rejecting the exact rim-running archetype the Lakers needed. Even after a late-season reality check, he was frequently outplayed by minimum contract guys like Jackson Hayes in high-leverage moments. It failed so badly that Luka personally intervened this summer, heavily advocating for the acquisition of Kessler, or alternatively, Detroit's Jalen Duren, though the Pistons flat-out refused to engage in negotiations.
Kessler understands the assignment. He is statistically recognized as a 99th percentile rim protector and an elite offensive rebounder. His entire offensive utility comes from setting massive screens and functioning as a high-catch lob threat. In his introductory press conference, he openly praised Dončić's gravitational pull and expressed genuine enthusiasm for doing the dirty work to generate assists. Sure, he has offensive limitations, specifically a glaring 54.5% mark from the free throw line that invites hack-a-shack strategies in the clutch, but his psychological understanding of the role made that $130 million price tag an operational necessity.
And because of that contract, the Lakers have painted themselves into a highly inflexible salary cap corner by committing max money to Dončić, $130 million to Kessler, and lucrative deals elsewhere. Their future asset cash is completely barren. They are devoid of tradable first-round picks. Their lone saving grace for future maneuverability is actually DeAndre Ayton's contract. By exercising his $8.1 million player option for the 2026-27 season, Ayton serendipitously provided LA with an expiring salary slot. That $8.1 million potentially combined with young developmental pieces like sophomore forward Edu Tierro, who flashed massive potential with a 15-point performance and an 18-point, 10-rebound double-double in Summer League, or their 2026 first-round true rookie Sergio De La Rey, represents their only viable salary matching mechanism for an in-season upgrade at the trade deadline.
Before we get to the X's and O's, let's round out the rest of the perimeter fortification. The front office brought in Sandro Mamukelashvili on a 4-year, $52 million contract. Mainstream outlets called it an overpay, but the analytics community loves his secondary processing skills, connective passing, and competent floor spacing that he showcased during his breakout year in Toronto. They added Quentin Grimes for roughly $15 million annually to take the heaviest point of attack defensive assignments, navigating screens relentlessly to preserve Luka's energy.
And look at the margins. They secured Colin Sexton to be that lightning-fast rim pressure and secondary scorer off the bench. He can comfortably average 18 to 20 points per game attacking tilted defenses. They picked up defensive specialists like Matisse Thybulle on a cheap $3.3 million one-year deal, a guy who maintained a highly disruptive 2.0 steals per game despite playing a career-low 16.0 minutes per game in Portland last year due to a knee injury. They also have Zaire Williams returning from a foot injury for standard 3-and-D wing minutes. Throw in the current 2026 depth, with veteran Kevin Looney providing sturdy insurance behind Kessler, plus Dalton Connect and Jake LaRavia spacing the floor on the wings, and Jaden Hardy and Bronny James offering fresh legs in the backcourt. It is a highly specialized roster.
All right, Professor Hank, step up to the whiteboard. Head coach JJ Redick is tasked with blending this roster together. Historically, Redick's offensive ideals heavily emphasize constant off-ball motion, high dribble handoffs, originating from the elbow, and pace and space principles. But Luka operates best in a methodical, isolation-heavy, high-volume pick-and-roll environment where he physically dictates the tempo and pounds the basketball. How does Redick resolve this schematic tension?
It is an exercise in elite tactical compromise, Dwayne. Redick has implemented a highly sophisticated motion-to-isolation hybrid scheme. He knows taking the ball out of Luka's hands for extended periods mathematically diminishes his historical effectiveness. So he uses complex off-ball actions as pure deception, Picture this. The offense frequently initiates with Iverson cuts, zoom action, or staggered screens for Grimes and Reeves. But this is strictly window dressing to occupy the weak side defenders. Once the defense is in motion and distracted, the possession funnels directly into a Dončić high pick and roll with Kessler.
And what happens when the defense inevitably overcommits and sends two to the ball to trap Luka?
That is when the secondary mechanics of Redick's system activate immediately. Instead of just standing around statically, Redick demands that secondary creators like Reeves and Sexton attack the tilted defense instantly via secondary DHOs or lightning-fast 0.5-second drive and kick decisions. Mamukelashvili is lethal here. Redick utilizes him as a trailing playmaker in the delay series. Mamu receives a throwback pass from Luka and can either shoot the trail three or flow directly into a dribble handoff with a sprinting Colin Sexton cutting back door. It prevents defenses from ever fully loading up on the primary pick and roll.
Redick is also doing some fascinating rotational staggering to keep either Luka or Reeves on the floor at all times. He toggles between two distinct offensive modalities. First, you have the vertical gravity unit, which features Luka paired with Walker Kessler and maximum spot-up spacing from guys like Grimes, Zaire Williams, or the rookie sharpshooter Cameron Carr, who dropped 23 points in a Summer League game against the Clippers. That unit relies on lob passes to Kessler at the rim or kickouts to wide-open corners.
Contrast that with the high-spacing unit led by Austin Reeves. During Luka's mandatory rest periods, Reeves assumes primary ball handling duties, and Mamukelashvili slides to the center position to act as a stretch five. This creates a pure five-out offensive alignment. Without a traditional big man clogging the paint, Reeves and Sexton have unfettered access to the rim and utilize rapid dribble drive and kick-out mechanics to radically shift the tempo.
But Hank, defensively, this team terrifies me. The Lakers are slated to start three significant defensive negatives on the perimeter in Dončić, Reeves, and Mamukelashvili. How does Redick mask that?
By heavily relying on a rigid conservative drop coverage system anchored entirely by Kessler. The schematic objective is singular and uncompromising. Funnel absolutely everything to the rim protector. Grimes and Thibault are tasked with fighting relentlessly over the top of perimeter screens to apply immediate rear view pressure on opposing ball handlers. This ICE or drop strategy forces the initiator to drive into the painted area, directly into Kessler's waiting 7'1" wingspan, preventing pull-up threes. Meanwhile, Luka is routinely hidden on the opposing team's weakest offensive wing or stationed as a low-man helper on the weak side to minimize lateral exertion and hide his physical fatigue.
That requires immense schematic elasticity in crunch time. Redick has customized closing lineups based on the score discrepancy. If they trail by 3 to 5 points, he deploys maximum offensive spacing. Luka, Sexton, Reeves, Grimes, and Mamu. 5 capable ball handlers and shooters, making it mathematically impossible to double Luka without conceding a wide-open three. If they are protecting a narrow lead, it's defensive lockdown. Luka, Grimes, Thibault, Reeves, and Kessler. And against overwhelming size, they deploy a heavy front court counter with Jared Vanderbilt to dominate the defensive glass. Let's zoom out. Evaluating this Lakers ceiling requires contextualizing them against a brutally deep, talented, and unforgiving Western Conference. We all remember last year, during the 2025-26 season, despite the mid-season acquisition of Luka, the Lakers were dismantled in the conference semifinals by the Oklahoma City Thunder, losing the series 4-1, punctuated by a humiliating and spirit-breaking 139-96 defeat.
The Thunder remain the undisputed apex predators and the Lakers' primary existential threat. Their projected 2026-27 roster is overwhelmingly deep and terrifyingly young. You have two-time reigning MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, ascending superstars Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, and elite two-way firepower. But here is the tactical nightmare. OKC added center Isaiah Hartenstein in the offseason. Hartenstein provides a high post facilitator who can drag Walker Kessler completely out of the paint, mathematically neutralizing the Lakers' drop coverage. And defensively, they boast Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso, specifically designed to harass primary initiators like Luka for 94 feet.
While the Denver Nuggets are looking stagnant, Nikola Jokic declined a $278 million extension in the summer of 2026, making a strict business decision to wait until the 2027 offseason to become eligible for a historic, record-breaking 5-year, $359.5 million, $159.5 million Supermax deal. The front office is paralyzed by a severe luxury tax crisis surrounding restricted free agent Peyton Watson, who is demanding $25 million annually, leading to potential trades involving Cameron Johnson. Their depth is severely compromised.
You also have ascending threats like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who boldly re-engineered their backcourt by acquiring LaMelo Ball to pair his transition playmaking with the sheer physical dominance of Anthony Edwards that direct challenges the Lakers' transition defense, which is their Achilles heel. And the Houston Rockets fortified their grit and perimeter shooting by acquiring Marcus Smart and Bogdan Bogdanović.
So what are the mathematical playoff odds based on advanced roster construction metrics? Assuming Luka plays a minimum of 65 games and Kessler avoids catastrophic injury, the best-case scenario is a 56-26 record. Kessler's drop coverage perfectly mitigates the perimeter defensive issues. Sexton wins Sixth Man of the Year, and they secure a top 3 seed and home court advantage. There is a 35% probability of a top 4 seed.
But the base case scenario, the most statistically probable outcome at 45%, is a 50-32 record. They endure standard NBA injury attrition, miss Reeves or Grimes for 15 to 20 games, and the defense fluctuates wildly against elite perimeter offenses, landing them the 4th or 5th seed in a grueling first-round matchup. The bottom line is this: the Lakers have unequivocally traded the flexibility of the future for the certainty of the present. The margins for error are microscopic.
Blue 42, set, hut.
Let's go, touchdown.
We are trading the hardwood for the gridiron. As we peer into 2026 regular season, we have circled a massive Week 2 night game taking place at AT&T Stadium on September 20th. The Washington Commanders versus the Dallas Cowboys. Hank, this is a critical crucible of identity for both of these franchises.
It absolutely is. Let's look at the state of the Dallas Cowboys. They are currently in the second year of the Brian Schottenheimer era as head coach, following his elevation to the top job on January 24th, 2025. Following a tumultuous 2025 campaign that resulted in a disappointing 7-9-1 finish, the franchise executed significant offseason maneuvers. Offensively, Schottenheimer has maintained his sophisticated rhythm and timing system. It is a mature, highly refined variant of the West Coast offense that heavily utilizes pre-snap motion out of 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers, stressing defenses horizontally before attacking vertically. He is all about complementary football and limiting giveaway rates. Remember, this system led the NFL with 29.9 points per game in 2023.
But the overarching narrative for the 2026 season has been their aggressive defensive modernization. Recognizing that the 7-9-1 finish in 2025 was largely a byproduct of defensive inconsistencies, they overhauled the staff. On January 22, 2026, they made a bold, forward-looking move by hiring 34-year-old Christian Parker as the youngest defensive coordinator in franchise history.
Parker is a rising star with a pedigree shaped by the legendary Vic Fangio. His philosophy represents a stark departure from the static single-high safety looks of previous regimes. Parker's overarching mandate is absolute multiplicity. He utilizes a Fangio-style 4-2-5 nickel-based structure, 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs, employing 2 high split safety shells pre-snap. Post-snap, he unleashes complex rotations to confuse opposing quarterbacks, blending quarters coverage with match principles that convert to man-to-man coverage based on the route distribution.
Standing in their way is a Washington Commanders team operating with a radically redesigned offense under the tutelage of 30-year-old offensive coordinator David Blough. Analysts refer to Blough's scheme as a Voltron offense because it is an amalgamation of philosophies gleaned from mentors like Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, and Jeff Brom. It represents a massive departure from the Cliff Kingsbury regime, prioritizing under-center alignments, heavy play action, and an intricate running game to maximize the specific athletic talents of quarterback Jayden Daniels.
And Washington's defense has been completely revitalized under new defensive coordinator Daronte Jones. Jones arrived from the Minnesota Vikings, where his unit tied for the league lead with 33 takeaways in 2024, including 24 interceptions. He brings a takeaway-heavy, cover-3 match philosophy that utilizes pattern matching principles to suffocate intermediate throwing windows and force turnovers. It sets up a phenomenal coaching duel across the board.
Let's take this down to the field level and get granular. The battle at the line of scrimmage will largely dictate the tempo, particularly when the Cowboys have the ball. Washington boasts an incredibly formidable interior defensive line rotation, anchored by veteran Daron Payne, rising star Jer'Jon Newton, and Javon Kinlaw.
Newton specifically possesses elite first-step quickness and the ability to penetrate the A and B gaps, which severely disrupts the lateral agility required for Schottenheimer's zone blocking principles. But the real chess match is in pass protection. Washington acquired elite left tackle Laremy Tunsil in the offseason. Tunsil is a technician with elite footwork and independent hand usage, rendering traditional speed rushes and bend-the-edge techniques largely ineffective.
Because Tunsil's anchor is world-class, Christian Parker simply cannot rush 4 standard defensive linemen and expect to shatter the protection on the left side. Jadeveon Clowney's bull rush strictly favors Washington in that matchup. Therefore, Parker will likely align his premier edge rusher, the explosive Sam Williams, against Washington's right tackle, Josh Conerly Jr., who is susceptible to inside counter moves.
But the interior is where the chaos happens for this Dallas defense. Now that Osa Odigizua is out of the picture, they are pairing superstar Quinnen Williams inside with absolute powerhouse Kenny Clark, who they brought in to solidify this 2026 roster. Having Quinnen and Clark pushing the pocket creates a nightmare for offensive coordinators. Parker will utilize stunts and twists where defensive linemen exchange gaps post-snap in a coordinated dance. By slanting Quinnen Williams hard into the A-gap and looping an edge rusher around him, Dallas can create free rushers up the middle to prevent Jayden Daniels from stepping up into his throws.
And that interior mass frees up the second level. Linebackers like Maris Liufau, DeMarvion Overshown, and Jayshawn Barham are going to be able to flow freely to the football. Containing Jayden Daniels' electric mobility on third down is lethal. Parker will utilize mush rush techniques from his defensive ends, instructing them to rush to the depth of the quarterback, but prioritizing containment over an aggressive sack attempt. Additionally, those athletic linebackers will be tasked with spy responsibilities to mirror Daniels' lateral movements.
Let's look at the passing game. The Cowboys' aerial assault is elite, driven by Dak Prescott's unparalleled pre-snap processing. They retain George Pickens via the franchise tag to pair with CeeDee Lamb. Daronte Jones will rely heavily on cornerback Mike Sainristil to execute his cover 3 match scheme. Sainristil operates primarily in the star role, a hybrid nickelback position requiring elite processing and tackling. His short area quickness and background as a wide receiver make him the perfect primary assignment against CeeDee Lamb in the slot.
On the perimeter, Antonio Hamilton Sr. is tasked with defending the physical George Pickens. Given Pickens' size and leaping advantage at the catch point, Jones will have to provide Hamilton with consistent over-the-top safety help from Will Harris or Quan Martin. But here's the tactical advantage for Dallas. If Washington commits a safety to consistently bracket Pickens, it inherently lightens the box, creating favorable mathematical advantages for the running game and opening the deep middle of the field.
And the mismatches happen when you dive deeper into the depth chart. Washington's linebacking core, led by Frankie Louvu and Jordan Magee, is built for speed and sideline-to-sideline pursuit. But they are going to have their hands full with third-year veteran tight end Brevin Spanford. At 6 feet 7 inches and over 260 pounds, Spanford is an imposing physical specimen who effectively serves as a sixth offensive lineman in the running game, but possesses the fluidity to operate as a legitimate receiving threat down the seam.
Exactly. And don't forget fourth-year veteran wide receiver Jonathan Mingo operating in the intermediate zones, or the sheer speed of Cavante Turpin. Turpin's integration via jet sweeps, orbit motions, and tunnel screens is a devastating counterpunch to aggressive pass rushes. It alters the mathematics of pursuit angles and forces Washington's edge defenders to widen their stance, creating larger interior running lanes. All right, Hank, let's script the game flow. In divisional matchups late in the season, victory is rarely secured strictly by the primary game plan. It hinges on secondary in-game adjustments. How does Schottenheimer counter the massive interior size of Daron Payne and Jerzon Newton in the run game?
To neutralize that interior dominance, Schottenheimer must avoid predictability. A critical adjustment will be the implementation of unbalanced offensive lines, aligning both offensive tackles on the same side of the center. This structural manipulation creates extra gaps that mathematically force Washington's defensive tackles to slide out of their preferred alignments to maintain gap integrity. By forcing Payne and Newton wider, Dallas creates softer interior angles to execute trap blocks and wham concepts, utilizing fullback Hunter Luepke to blindside the defensive tackles at the point of attack to spring Javonte Williams free.
And what is Washington's counter to Christian Parker's interior stunts? David Blough's insistence on moving the quarterback under center has yielded positive results. But against the aggressive interior pressure of Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark, forcing Jaden Daniels to execute deep five-step drops from under center invites disaster.
Blough must execute a critical structural adjustment, migrating to the pistol formation. The pistol places the quarterback 4 yards behind the center, with the running back directly behind him. It perfectly marries the downhill gap scheme running plays of an under-center offense while providing Daniels with the pre-snap depth and wider field vision of the shotgun. That split-second advantage allows Daniels to process Christian Parker's complex post-snap defensive rotations before the interior pocket collapses.
Let's break down the quarter-by-quarter narrative arc. The first quarter is the tactical feeling out process. Expect methodical, conservative game planning. Washington prioritizes establishing the run with early down under center formations for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Rachaad White to protect Daniels from Parker's blitz packages and force the Dallas linebackers to commit downhill. Dallas will test Daronte Jones' discipline with quick, horizontal passing concepts, hitting tight end Jake Ferguson in the flats. A low-scoring opening period relying heavily on punters Brian Anger and Tress Way.
But the second quarter is the aerial escalation. Dak Prescott will diagnose the rotational rules and start hunting matchups, utilizing double moves to exploit Antonio Hamilton Sr. on the perimeter with Pickens. Blough counters by unleashing play-action bootlegs, getting Daniels outside the pocket to throw deep crossers to Terry McLaurin behind the aggressive Dallas linebackers. The pace accelerates dramatically heading into halftime.
The third quarter is the adjustment phase. Dallas recognizes Washington's offensive tackles are holding up, so they instruct Quinnen Williams to attack the interior relentlessly with heavy stunt packages. Washington executes their pistol compromise, relying on quick screens to true rookie standout Antonio Williams and utilizing Daniels on design quarterback draws to punish Dallas defensive ends for losing contain.
Which brings us to the fourth quarter, the execution crucible. Physical fatigue sets in on the interior offensive lines. Schottenheimer bypasses the trenches entirely, leaning heavily on the quick game and tunnel screens to CeeDee Lamb and Cavante Turpin. Ultimately, the defining factor is the contrast in experience in high-leverage situations. Facing a complex disguised pressure package from Parker, Jaden Daniels is forced into a fractional hesitation. Edge rusher Sam Williams capitalizes on that hesitation, forcing a critical negative play or turnover that derails a Washington drive.
Given the opportunity to secure the victory, Dak Prescott executes a clinical, methodical 4-minute drill. He utilizes high-percentage throws to his third-year tight end Brevin Spanford and precise running game execution by Javonte Williams to bleed the clock, forcing Washington to exhaust their timeouts and icing the game. Give me your final score prediction, Hank.
The synthesis of this deep dive analysis reveals a matchup governed by the minutiae of spatial geometry and individual brilliance. Blough's offensive revitalization has made the Commanders infinitely more dangerous, but the sheer firepower of the Cowboys' established passing attack, coupled with interior defensive dominance, provides Dallas with the ultimate trump card. Schottenheimer's ability to limit giveaways neutralizes Jones's takeaway-heavy defense. Final score, Dallas Cowboys 27, Washington Commanders 24. The Cowboys secure a hard-fought divisional victory on the road.
Hank. You heard it here first, folks. A 27-24 Cowboys victory to cap off Week 18. That's all the time we have for today on the 8 and 88 podcast. We went as in-depth as humanly possible, blending the advanced tactical metrics with the latest salary cap and roster realities. Hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and we will catch you next time. I am fired up today, folks. My blood has been boiling for months, and I have been holding on to this one since the news officially broke over the summer. We all know the reality. LeBron James departed via free agency to join the Philadelphia 76ers. Look, I can accept a guy wanting to move on at the end of his career. I can accept a superstar wanting a change of scenery. But the money he accepted to leave, that is the ultimate slap in the face to the entire city of Los Angeles. Let's start by looking at the raw cap data. The numbers are absolutely fucking staggering. LeBron James hit the open market and signed a 2-year, $8 million veteran minimum contract with Philadelphia. He is literally going to make approximately $3.88 million this upcoming 2026-27 season. To put that in perspective, there are college kids right now projected to make nearly as much in NIL money next season as LeBron James is making to play for the Sixers. And frankly, it is a slap in the goddamn face to the Lakers and our fan base. Where was this magical discount energy for the purple and gold, huh? The Lakers bent over backwards to accommodate this asshole for years. They traded away their youth. They mortgaged drafts. They hired who he wanted. They signed the guys he wanted and drafted his son at his request. But when the time came to actually help the front office out and give us some breathing room under the new collective bargaining agreement, he didn't fucking flinch. Let's rewind to last season. Did he take a team-friendly deal to help Los Angeles? Fuck no. He opted straight into his $52.6 million player option, and then he turns around and takes a mind-boggling $48.72 million pay cut just to ring chase with the 76ers. Just look at Duke's John Blackwell. Duke landed him in the transfer portal this offseason after he averaged 19.1 points per game last year for Wisconsin and made third team All-Big Ten. I'm looking at the NIL trackers right now, and Blackwell's estimated NIL valuation at Duke is sitting at $1.6 million. Think about that for a second. You have a 21-year-old college junior pulling in $1.6 million to play in the ACC, and arguably one of the greatest NBA players of all time, is playing in Philadelphia for just over double that on a goddamn veteran minimum deal. It is complete fucking bullshit. By taking that massive salary in LA, he functionally handcuffed the Lakers front office. He squeezed every last dollar out of Jeannie Buss, forcing LA to operate under immense pressure with a demanding fan base and zero margin for error. His refusal to take a discount directly set up the absolute structural desperation we saw this summer. It forced the Lakers to mortgage their entire future, relinquishing a devastating package of future assets just to afford Walker Kessler to put around Luka Dončić. We have to talk about the mechanics of why that $52.6 million cap hit was so destructive to LA last season. Under this new CBA, crossing the second apron is basically a death sentence for team building. You lose your taxpayer mid-level exception, you can't aggregate salaries and trades, and your future first-round picks get frozen. By taking that massive salary in LA, LeBron functionally handcuffed Rob Pelinka and the front office. They were operating in luxury tax hell. How were the Lakers supposed to build a playoff-caliber roster around this kind of bullshit? He wouldn't sacrifice a single goddamn dime to help the Lakers cap situation. But the second he hits free agency, he turns around and hands Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers the biggest motherfucking discount in the history of the sport. He bails out Philly's cap sheet so he can go team up with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Jaylen Brown on some bargain bin minimum deal bullshit. It's a complete double standard. He played the ultimate leverage game. He knew LA was trapped, took the absolute maximum payout, and then bolted for a ready-made contender the minute the Lakers roster started showing foundational cracks. He took the money from LA, ran to the East Coast to chase another ring on the cheap, and left Los Angeles to clean up the crater he left behind. He treated the Lakers like an ATM and treated the Sixers like a charity case. Yeah, I'll give him credit for coming to LA when no one else wanted to. And I'll even tip my cap to him for the championship he got us. But the way he left, not taking a pay cut when we needed him to, and then running to Philly to do some Kevin Durant-style dick riding for another ring, made me lose all respect for him. He didn't leave us a better future, he left us in a fucking hole. So it's fuck LeBron over here. I said what the fuck I said.
Dwayne and I believe in giving people their just due, whether positive or negative. And let me tell you, today is overwhelmingly positive. This is Hank's Hall of Fame Minute. Before becoming one of the greatest players in NBA history, he was born Ferdinand Louis Alcindor Jr. on April 16, 1947. Playing under legendary coach John Wooden at UCLA, his dominance helped redefine college basketball and established him as the nation's premier player. During his 3 varsity seasons from 1966 to 1969, he led the Bruins to 3 consecutive NCAA national championships and compiled an 88-2 overall record. He was an absolute colossus on the floor, averaging 26.4 points and 15.5 rebounds per game, while shooting 63.9% from the field. Think about this for a second. UCLA's first loss with Kareem didn't come until his 44th game, a narrow 2-point loss to the No. 2 ranked Houston Cougars. Furthermore, he never lost a single NCAA tournament game, going a flawless 12-0. He carried that absolute supremacy right into a 20-season NBA career, primarily with the Milwaukee Bucks from 1969 to 1975 and the Los Angeles Lakers from 1975 to 1989. He brought with him a weapon of mass destruction. At 7'2" and 225 pounds, opposing players feared his legendary skyhook because it was virtually impossible to block, making it one of the most unstoppable shots the game has ever seen. You want to talk about undeniable metrics? Let's read the resume. 6 NBA championships, a league record 6 NBA Most Valuable Player awards, 2 NBA Finals MVP awards, and 19 NBA All-Star selections. He retired as the NBA's all-time leading scorer with 38,387 points and 15,837 field goals made, a monumental record that stood until 2023. He pulled down 17,440 rebounds, dished out 5,660 assists, and officially recorded 3,189 block shots. He achieved all of this staggering production while logging 57,446 minutes over 1,560 games. His empire extended far beyond the hardwood, while his peak annual salary in the NBA ranged from approximately $650,000 to $1 million, making him one of the highest paid players of his era. His wealth continued to compound. Today, his estimated net worth for 2025 sits around $20 to $25 million. That wealth was built methodically through his NBA earnings, endorsements, investments, book sales, television and film appearances, public speaking, and post-retirement business ventures. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1995, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar isn't just an all-time great, he is an undisputed titan of the sport. And that has been your Hall of Fame minute.
The refrigerator, the doors closed, the lights out, the eggs are cooling, the butter's getting hard, and the Jell-O's jiggling.